One of the things that is often seen within the fitness industry is the young people that we used to think of as beginners in the gym are blasting steroids higher than most adults or men into their 40s have ever done. And there are so many cases of this widespread, and interestingly enough, it's often supported. We made like a whole video a while back talking about several different influencers on TikTok preaching and gloating about how they are basically using steroids at 16, 17, 18 years old. Wild concept to wrap my head around, but it's a really real thing, and we're seeing it unfold in real time. And I said this before and I'll say it again. One of the most interesting things about all of this is going to be what happens in 10 to 20 years with these exact people who are using steroids at a very young developmental age, especially with, their cognitive function. I have no idea. It's going to be really interesting. If anybody acts like clavicular, we're going to have problems, right? And that's where I just see this going. So I strolled on this picture, just going through Instagram, and honestly, I looked at it and I was like, okay, this guy's in the hospital. Wrong. He's just in his bedroom with a CPAP machine. And I look at the signs above him, the balloons, and they say 21. I'm thinking, that's weird. Is this like an old throwback photo or something to 2021? No, wrong. It's his birthday. He's 21. This man is 21, looking absolutely diabolical on a CPAP machine, blasting his socks off with gear that we've probably never conceptualized before. Brother was the last known victim, his parents maybe, for Chernobyl or something, brother. Something's going on. But what's crazy is he has this 5-year transformation. It just doesn't even make sense. It just doesn't even make sense. I mean, look at him 5 years ago. He's jacked, but keep in mind, at that point, he's 16. This is a 16 to 17-year-old kid, and he's this diabolical behemoth of testosterone and tren now. And it just blows me away that a guy like this is 20 years old at the time of this photo. 20 years old. How old would you guess he is? Just throw in things out there. Comment down below. I'm gonna say I would see this man walking down the street. I'm thinking a good 30, 32, 33, somewhere around there. Just entering his 30s, really hitting the stride of like, I'm getting old type shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like halfway dead at this point, brother. Like, goddamn, I'm there, shit. Fuck, dude. This is crazy, dude. Like, it really does show you how much gear can change your face and age you quickly, really quickly. Interestingly enough as well, I might point out his skeletal structure, and specifically the shape of his face has changed. It's like he's got the round face syndrome, fat face syndrome. Solomon Nelson actually made a really great video detailing this phenomena in fitness where people abuse steroids and they get fat face syndrome, where they can be absolutely shredded just like he is, but have like this really round face, and it seems to actually hypertrophy your face in both having more muscles in your face, but also in bone density of your face. It's a really interesting phenomena. I've talked about it before. When you have osteoblastic class activation excessively from growth hormone, insulin, IGF-1 administration plus androgens, I mean, it's just bound to happen. You're going to have bone expansion or changes in bone structure to some degree. You see this within Ronnie Coleman's elbows. If you ever looked at Ronnie Coleman's elbows, they're huge now. The same reason is for that's why, some guys have such wildly changed faces after just a few years of gear exposure. But I wanted to scroll back and just see where this kid started, where his grassroots, and this is the end of his profile. Nothing really crazy here at all. We got his intro being into what seems to be powerlifting, and he's fucking strong as shit. Look at the kids he's next to here. They're young. They're so young. They're 17 years old. He, on the other hand, these kids look, fit, what have you. He looks like a fucking monster that has been training for 20 years at 17 years old. I mean, the kid is already jacked to the gills, looking like he's going to destroy humankind. Look at this guy. I mean, this is actually redonkulous, dude. Like, redonkulous. Now, I can't say for sure if homeboy is just genetically gifted and we are far superior human beings compared to him. 1 in a million. Chances are that's a very valid opinion. I am inferior in basically every way to most human beings. But the fact is, I think he's definitely genetically superior. I don't think he was blasting gear here. He's probably just on the cusp of having started. And what we're working with here is somebody who's a hyper responder, because not too long after that, we got homeboy, less than a year later, looking like a guy's dreams. I mean, he's 17 years old in this picture. He looks so jacked. Like, what's going on? And in all honesty, I think what this is a culmination of having superior genetics and having an exceptional response to gear and introducing that gear at a very young age, and therefore increasing the exponential of growth very quickly. And so you have somebody who looks like an open class bodybuilder, huge by anybody's standards, at a very young age of 21 years old. It doesn't even make sense. Well, it kind of does. I mean, you're leveraging chemistry and genetics. You sometimes are going to have these people who just strike the hot iron in the genetic pool of human beings. It's crazy, but people like this exist. Now, the other question that often gets asked in predicaments where you have somebody like this as big as he is needing a CPAP at 21 years old. Now, for those of you who don't know, a CPAP is basically a machine that forces oxygen down your throat because you get so big that you create obstructions within your breathing canal. And we'll call it that. It's not an appropriate term, but please don't murder me in the comments. But you crush your ability to breathe, whether that's because of diaphragmatic pressure, your chest is too big, your neck gets too thick, and muscles kind of swell up. Larynx, we've talked about androgen receptors in the larynx can cause edema. This happens in women and men, and it's a lot of the reason why women can get deeper voices, but it's also a lot of the reason that sleep apnea is very apparent in people who abuse and use gear. But this is something that most people are worried about into their 30s, not 21, 20 years old. But anyways, what I'm getting at is the question people often ask is this healthy? Is this sustainable? Is this going to be something that, we're going to see a guy dying in his 30s again? And the chances are, yeah, probably, not so healthy. I can't say for sure how healthy this guy is. I don't know his blood work. I haven't seen organ imaging. I don't know what he's doing in terms of cycling and precaution with his health, if he's taking anything prophylactically. But what I'm going to assume is he's definitely blasting his socks off, okay? To some margin, he's using a lot of androgens, and he's leveraging the time that he has now in his youth where things are robust, your health is pretty dominant, even if you're doing unhealthy things, and trying to build as much muscle as possible. You see this also a lot in bodybuilding, where you're in your youth, you go crazy because you're trying to catch to the point where you can get a pro card, and then once you're at that level, it's just now it's a more slow kind of residual grind that's not as repeatedly abusive. But I would imagine if we just look at all things, for instance, body mass index being higher, generally that's already in and of itself, whether that body mass index is relative to lean mass or fat mass, one's obviously more of a diseased state. But the thing is that these two states are not so great. Like, they usually shorten the length of one's life. And you see this in all mammals too, in all creatures generally. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. In this study, they show, for example, dogs and the longevity of dogs. The broader their shoulders are, the shoulder height, the quicker they die in relation to their smaller counterparts. It's a very common thing you see within nature, and there's a lot of reasons for it. The basic reality is, you take a great example, all right? Some of you Hellcatians out there, maybe you drive Hellcats or something. Hopefully it's a red-eye jailbreak, but maybe it's not. But that engine is awesome. It is crazy, right? It makes exceeding numbers of potentially 800 horsepower, and depending on what mods you've done to it and stuff, and there's a whole lot. But that engine performs phenomenally. It is one of the most exceptional things, except its longevity and the damage it can do to the drivetrain of the vehicle very much shortens its lifespan. Not only that, but the recklessness of the said driver in the vehicle, because let's be honest, no one responsible is going to be just whipping around a Hellcat to get, well, maybe they are actually, to get groceries. I guess that's actually something very common if you've seen Uber drivers. Anyways, you're more likely to wreck the drivetrain. You're more likely to blow an engine. A Hellcat ain't getting 300,000 miles on it like my F-250 diesel out there, which has got like a basically unlimited lifespan. And the reason for that is because it's a bigger, more aggressive, higher output engine to a very massive degree. If you have a Toyota Prius, that thing's gonna be running its wheels for a long time. You're probably not going to wreck it because of reckless driving. You're probably not going to be able to go 1,000,000 miles an hour, but because of that, it goes forever. And the same thing can be said about human beings. A lot of the longevity community is definitely interested in having lean mass and bone mineral density, but they're not interested in spastically increasing their lean mass to such a degree that is almost unparalleled to all human beings around them. It's counterintuitive, and at a certain point, it leads to more oxidative stress because the resources required to achieve that much muscle mass are greater. And again, just like a car, you put more fuel in it, it gets worse gas mileage. There's more byproduct. And those byproducts in the human body can be very oxidative, can be degenerative. And as well, the more that you cause cell turnover, unfortunately, the limited time that you have, the more limited exposure you have to reality. You have a finite amount of times that cells can divide. And once they reach senescence, you're kind of fucked, buddy. All this to say, he's got an impressive physique, an amazing physique, dude. Crazy genetics, like potential's unlimited, like uncapped for him. But is it healthy? Well, no. Using steroids at a developmental age is very clearly and obviously not going to be sustaining optimal function for the human body, especially for the version of you that's 20 or 30 years down the line, right? That's a big thing to think about, but you don't often do that when you're 18, 19, 20, 21. But also just having that elevated body mass for that long, starting at that young, you're going to run into some issues sooner or later. And depending on things like his resting heart rate, his blood pressure, especially resting heart rate, right? If you have a heart rate that's like chronically 80 beats per minute, 90 beats per minute at a resting state, boy, oh boy, that's no good. That is just absolutely not good. You think about, again, an engine. I keep a car revving at 4,000 RPMs versus a car that revs at 2,000 RPMs and they both go the same speed. Well, one's getting double the mechanical wear as the other one, both achieving the same goal. This is the same thing about the heart too. You have electronic, basically hardware around your heart and much more. It's a complicated science. Cardiac morphology is crazy. It's just, bigger you are, generally, the harder you fall. And doing it this young, very concerning. I don't know about you. But what he could be doing to protect himself or at least put some insurance behind his health is getting blood work. And that's where one of our sponsors today comes in, Anabolic Insights. You can click the link down below in the description to get some fire personal labs for you. And the best part about this is you don't have to go to a doctor and get a prescription. You don't have to lean on somebody else to interpret those labs for you. And you can pay a phenomenal price compared to what other competitors are charging out there. It takes out the middleman and it puts you directly in charge of your health and what is going on inside of your body. The best part about Anabolic Insights is it has one of the most advanced AI systems that I've ever seen. I'm very anti-AI, but this is one circumstance where I do think it has very great value. It interprets the results of the blood work and it gives you objective outputs in terms of data and correlations to that blood work, which you might find interesting and insightful to improve your health long term. Give it a shot down below. My code is Coachkolton. I would highly recommend checking it out. And while you're down there, click the subscribe button and like the video. It helps out a ton. Look, to anybody young out there, I also want to be very clear about something. This guy is the absolute exception, okay? He is not the standard. Most people can run astronomical amounts of pharmacology and never even get close to the results that this guy has achieved for himself. This is for sure an outlier. Most people will probably hop on testosterone or some of its variants, maybe some other adjunct compounds, and get a fraction of these results and take double the time to even achieve a fraction of those results. It's a very unique circumstance. And sometimes I worry about people like this. When people look at that, they're like, well, I want to be that big. I want to be that guy, but it's just not going to happen. Even if you used all the pharmaceutical warfare in the world, you won't achieve those goals because it's honestly just out of your grasp. It's a ridiculous outlier. Genetically speaking, that is 1 in a million, as Greg Doucette says, truly.
1 in a million.
But other than that, I hope you have a good day, folks. I hope you have a good day. Like, comment, and subscribe. I do read lots of the comments as much as I can. It means a lot. I really appreciate everyone. I said it earlier in a video before. I said it earlier in a video before that, but we got to 100K recently, and it means the world. We're going to get to 1 million. I don't know how, honestly, because that requires 10x the work that it took me to get to 100,000, but we'll figure it out. We'll get there regardless. I appreciate all of you. I hope you had a beautiful Christmas and hope the happy new year is treating you well. 2026 is going to be one hell of a time for all of us, okay? We're going to step it up. We're going to make money. We're going to get happy. All that good shit. All of it. Like, for sure.